Moving on, loot options. Now this is important too. What are you going to call the element that players use to level up? In traditional games, experience points and XP are really common. Teachers have used all kinds of things to customize their game. Think of the story you're going to tell the kids and how whatever these names are will fit in and amplify their experience. As far as the levels names go, I just stick with level and levels. If you're I don't know, a chemistry teacher, maybe the periodic table inspires you and you could figure out something wonderful to do. I don't know. Now, as far as this new mechanism here goes, this is beautiful. We have never had something as genius as this, and this is Mick's genius. I worked up something on paper and he figured out how to code all this stuff. So I have the lowest possible growth rate, and you'll see that these levels jump up quick enough. Where do you start? Where's the first level up? You always start with 0. That's where the game begins. So you get to 50 XP, you go to the next level. And here's the max to level up, because these numbers, even though it's like 50 between the first and second level and 51 between the second and third, by the time you get down to the 19th level and add a row, well, look at that. That's 221. Add another row, 240. Add another row, and now you're at 250. So from this point forward, it'll be the gap between levels will be 250. And you can always get in here and edit these things manually if you want, but this is a great way to keep levels from running away from kids and making it too difficult to level up. A mistake I have made in the past. Okay, this should help, and I strongly recommend starting out with something like this, but it's up to you. What do you want, currency or coins? Currency gives you a decimal point. You can use a dollar sign and call it dollars, and or call this credits and this CR if you wanted to use that. I happen to like the idea of gold, silver, and copper, and that's why I went ahead and went with this. Then reputation. In the past, we have used honor, health, damage. What fits your game? Now, rep in a lot of games is important to level up. You become established with certain clans. Well, in my classroom, I really depend on integrity and soft skills. So I want to reinforce reputation. Now, and then the bankruptcy penalty, if you got kids that spend their gold as soon as they get it, and some of that gold is ill-gotten, meaning they really didn't do the work, well, hey, there's a penalty. And if you take those, if you undo those quests and they can't pay, they don't have enough gold to cover it, well, they start losing their reputation. And because reputation is a multiplier, if you have 100 reputation and the quest is worth 100 gold, you get 100 gold. If you have 10 reputation, you get 10 gold. If you have 200 rep, well, you get 200 gold. It's a modifier that proportionally affects the amount of loot a player gets. So if I start players out with 1 rep, oh my goodness, they're getting 1% of the loot that they would have got. Now, this does several things, and I just want to share my thinking here, is a lot of kids experience crushing. They lose their motivation because they're crushed. They can't possibly raise their grade. It's mathematically impossible. And that's another story on why I think that's a vile way to teach your class and claim it's objective. The idea that you have to dig yourself out of a hole and it's possible. I want this to take the whole first semester to get up to 100 rep. I'm not going to be able to control that completely, but the idea that it's a long, slow slog and it's doable. I think this is a lesson that's worth experiencing. I try something new every year, and this is something very different than I've ever tried before. The idea that the modifier can go beyond 100, you could think, well, geez, how does that make sense? Well, don't you know people who are golden? And the idea that there's additional bonuses on the other side of reaching the maximum level, which you would think is 100%. So we're taking it up to 200. You can put 3 or 4 or 5. It doesn't matter. It's up to you completely. Careful that this doesn't get too high. The modifier only affects gold. It does not affect XP that's awarded in quests or rep, which also can be awarded. Good stuff. Wrap your head around this. Take some time. If you're totally confused, use these figures, because I'm going to explain my rationale for using this throughout the rest of these videos.